Hello, everyone. I am Kat, your host for the Conversations with the Feathered Serpent channel. Thank you so much for joining us. We have had a bit of a break in between our last conversation and today's conversation, but all due to wonderful, fascinating, exciting opportunities that are happening for the Harmony Project and our Feathered Serpent. He's been hard at work behind the scenes manifesting, orchestrating. Orchestrating is huge. I really do believe he is a conductor on many different levels with different meanings. I am just so grateful that I get to be a part of this journey. And we invite you to also be a part of it. Today, we are going to finish up our conversation on the Harmony Project. Not that we will never not talk about it again, but he really wants to kind of wrap this up in terms of what the project is, how we are going to be affecting, or already are affecting the planet in terms of healing and, well, harmonious living. He's gone to great details to explain what this means. And in our previous conversations, I encourage you to watch them and learn as much as you can. I also encourage you to interact with us, to not only like and follow our channel, but also comment and engage. Let's invite him into the conversation. And I'm excited for you to learn what we've been up to. And let's just jump right in. I thought it would be great to recap what the Harmony Projects is, its purpose, kind of summarize, and how that looks in real time as these projects are rolling out.
Okay, so when it was communicated to me, the tagline when I asked, what is this invisible path, which is, if anybody's ever researched anything to do with the Tao, understands that that's how the Tao works. It's nameless, formless. So I've been following this nameless, formless path for 5 or 6 years. And I had said, okay, I need a name. Well, when I was meditating, all of a sudden, this clearly articulated name happened, and it was the Harmony Projects, many voices resonating as one. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. And if you understand, the earth is a form of musical instrument, engine, there's many names, hologrammatic drum. It has grid lines all over it. And at these nexus points, when you go to these nexus points, there are portals that come in and portals that go out. If you go to portals that broadcast out, you can amplify your thoughts. Most churches in Europe are in fact made on a nexus point of more than 2, sometimes 5, 6 of these ley lines, grid lines, and churches are basically thought amplifiers. So the concept is, when you have people with intention at the right places in the grid, they can in fact stabilize and control the vibrations that we call reality. This can have effects from stabilizing weather, stabilizing mood, stabilizing and increasing crop production, because all things are consciousness. There are many pieces to this that aren't needing the name Harmony Projects. Damanhur, in fact, in Italy, is an allied group. They're doing the same thing. In fact, they're the tip of the spear. They were here first. They've accomplished so much. Look into Damanhur in Italy. They bored into a mountain located at a nexus point on the grid system that has a preponderance of crystals in it. They made the temples of humankind. They now have 7 communities all around this mountain, and they're producing amazing stuff. Okay. Yeah. This is a living example of what we're doing all around the planet and what eventually will be the only thing done on the planet. And that's a big statement. Yeah. Nonetheless, it's the truth. Because when we all understand that we're a choir, then we all start harmonizing. If things can be harmonious, and in nature, you know, it's usually large periods of harmony punctuated by short periods of chaos. Mm-hmm. And those that attempt to control things currently on the planet are inverting that. Large periods of chaos, short periods of harmony.
Right.
But the mechanism of how to create harmony and what it is important to be part of the discussion. And for people to understand that you can build communities that use the science of sympathetic vibratory physics, break down those words and understand what they mean. It's a science, and it has a very real outcome that doesn't depend on belief or anything that is ephemeral. Sort of like if I drop this pen, there's something called gravity. It will drop whether you believe in it or not. Okay. When people utilize this consciously, you can take control of your environment in a much more proactive way. You are not just a cork on the ocean being blown about to somebody else's will. You begin to produce your own wind. And like the voice that comes up from our lungs, our wind, when we consciously have the intention to harmonize with those around us, there's many voices resonating as one. And what is that? That's a choir, right? A choir of voices creating a harmonious output. And everything in reality will benefit from that and will benefit from this knowledge. Is the website a complete work? No, it's not a complete work. It's a seed that's meant to be planted in many locations. And from these seeds, many unique trees are meant to sprout, each contributing to the jungle that is the healing of the planet.
I think, what's coming to me right now, and I feel like we should discuss it a little bit and expand on it. Like you mentioned, community and many voices. And another thing that I think people need to be aware of is how divisive the other side has been. And that's been on purpose because when you pull people apart and you divide them, they're easier to conquer, right? Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And so, especially for the Western part of the world in North America, that is more rampant than probably anywhere else, Europe and the Western part. And what we need to wrap our minds around is the fact that we need to come back together, understanding the value of difference. And it's okay that people are different. And how you've talked about this in previous conversations with different octaves are not all the same, but together, that those differences actually create a very strong web of amazing potential.
This understanding of harmony, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think that needs to be really relearned what harmony is. It's not just all peace and love and groovy vibes.
Bass, sharp, all this. I mean, consider this a lot of people because of the brainwashing that's out there. And I would mention that if people want to learn more of what's actually going on, this is hard to find because it's been shadow banned. But there's a YouTube video. The title is called Dr. Courtney Brown Exposes the Three Eye Atlas PSYOP. Okay. And it is from watchmojo.com and is the unveiled episode 29. This is a remote viewer who's also a mathematician and a statistician talking about what the Earth really is and what's happening right now. This also dovetails into Cliff High's work and Martin Armstrong's work, both of which use technology to sort of see over the horizon. So that will give you a little bit bigger picture about what's going on, what has gone on the Earth, and why we're so confused and messed up. So let's discuss what you just mentioned, and that is the erroneous assumption that harmony is a monotone.
Right.
Most people think harmony is like a unified hive mind kind of tone where everybody's the same, everything's the same, like, ooh, everything is going. No, that's a monotone. That's not
Right.
harmony. Okay. When you look at a choir, you've got your soprano section, you've got your bass section, you've got your midtones, you've got your tenors, you've got all the range of the rainbow,
Right.
but their intention is to harmonize. So they're listening and communicating in a way which blends all of that together into a one unified supra note
Right.
or supra expression. Okay.
Because they're super aware that whatever they're doing is going to affect
Right.
the
Well, just
bigger
look at it.
picture.
Look at a choir. I mean, you can't have one guy who's just like if he's deaf, he's just belting out like
Right.
whatever. I mean, there has to be an intention to blend. Okay, but the components are all different. the more differences you have of that expression, the fuller the harmonic overtoning collective is. I mean, and there's an expression for that, which is the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Right.
So it's intention that is important. Intention to harmonize. And
Right.
the awareness is harmony is an intention to blend. Listen to any kind of Tuvan throat singing or Mongolian throat singing. You'll have 3 or 4 very seemingly discordant, chaotic tones, but yet when they harmonize, they produce an overtone, which has a kind of unity and fullness that each individual piece does not. And this is in a sense what the earth is. It's a musical instrument. We're all players of the musical instrument, and we need to learn how to play it. We need to learn how to harmonize, and that is starts with an intention, but has some very real hard scientific components. And what I mean by scientific is simply replicatable, repeatable techniques. I mean, like in any instrument playing, there are certain techniques that produce consistent results. Okay, so people go out there and learn your instrument, and the instrument is the planet. And by the way, you can look into a legend, the legend of the Spider Woman. It's a native legend, and it talks about the Spider Woman had 2 sons, and she taught these 2 sons how to beat a drum and sing. And there was no life on earth at this point, but her 2 sons beat the drum so loudly and sang the song so powerfully that woke up the crystal heart of the earth and created all life on the planet, because the earth was woken up and began vibrating and resonating with that song, and that vibration created everything you know today.
Wow.
So was the Harmony Project always known? Yeah, it was. Different names. The names don't matter. Yeah. It's the fruits. It's what's going on. It's the awareness that you have of what this planet is. And, this is what's happening at this moment of awakening as the seeds are planted. Trees are sprouting all over the planet. Our projects have increased. The planet needs these solutions more now than ever. Not going to talk about too much specifically because it will be updated on the site when those things are when we're finished and get to certain stages in the projects. But we are going to be launching a Harmony Project school in the poorest country of the world, and we're going to be teaching people how to grow nutrient dense food there for free. So that's something that I'm hopefully going to be honored and able to participate in about 6 months or so. There's a lot of positive changes. And as Cliff High himself talks about, and same with the Hopi prophecy, if you hold on to the shore, you'll know great pain. This is a metaphor for if you hang on to what was.
Something else that's come to me with just that is when you hold on. So because the brainwashing goes so deep, and again, especially focused over, in the Northern Hemisphere, holding on is holding on to those programs as well, and thinking that those are your only options, and it's knowing it feels safe because it's all you've known, but it's not going to serve you going forward.
Research Darren Brown, research NLP people,
right?
Because research the unconscious. How does this work? Right? So your unconscious has a topography, not necessarily created by you. Okay, right. So this is created by years of brainwashing, this topography. What feels normal is simply when your conscious mind lines up with your subconscious program.
That's right.
Then it feels normal. Okay. So if you go and change your subconscious program, you'll find that things that used to feel normal don't feel normal anymore. This is how people effortlessly lose weight or make money or whatnot. You subliminally change your subconscious program either through self-hypnosis, NLP, nightly affirmations, et cetera, et cetera. There's many ways to do this, some faster than others. But once you do this, what feels normal to you changes. So normalcy is really a word that just indicates alignment between subconscious program and conscious experience. Mm-hmm. And so people don't need to put a whole lot of importance on what feels normal, because what
Mhm.
feels normal can change. The advice that the Hopis are giving, which is, from thousands of years ago, and still it's poignant to today. It's about today. How could this happen? Because remote viewers have always been on the planet. We just call them different things. They're called shamans, they're called psychics, they're called oracles, they're called all sorts of things. But human beings have always had the ability to see into future possibilities. And so this, Hopi prophecy says, a time of change is coming. A river is going to happen. If you throw yourself in the river, keep your head above water. Pay attention to the simple things, your source of food, who's in the river with you, are your new family, your new friends. This could be a joyous time. Okay. But if you hang on to the shore, you'll be ripped apart and no great pain. And that is a metaphor for hanging on to what was, because
Yeah.
things are changing and they need to change.
Right. Absolutely.
That's a
But
good thing. It's a good thing.
like a birth, right?
Yeah, it's
You're
like a birth.
definitely going through a birth. I mean, like having given birth, I
I
know
can't
that.
say that I have that experience. No,
No, please don't.
no, no.
Um,
I was
but
never a lady.
like it's so painful that the brain forgets actually what that pain is and what that felt like. But it's a beautiful thing. And but it's going to be very uncomfortable, I feel like, possibly to a lot of people, because they will try and hold on to what's familiar or what's known, right?
Yeah, and there's, not having had the experience directly, but pondering it. There's a
Mhm.
difference between, because we watched, when I had my kids, we watched videos on some women having orgasms while they have births, right?
Right.
They're in a pool and they're spiraling. They're able to spiral, so they weren't on their back like the King Louis made women
Mm.
go on their back so they could watch them and shit. And that puts pressure on the spine. So this woman was in a pool and she was just rotating her hips in a spiral formation, and she was not experiencing a typical experience for women. Um, but there's also, I mean, even when you're doing something that has a pain component in it, when you suffer or where you bear pain are two different concepts.
Right.
Suffering pain, I believe, comes from not understanding why the pain is there, and
Right.
you're suffering it. When you bear pain, it's because you understand the reason for the pain and have accepted the
Right.
reason for the pain, and you want the outcome. So like when they say bearing down, when you're having you're bearing the pain, you know that this is going to result in a life, and so you're doing it, willingly, one would assume. And that's very different than suffering, like when a child going through an experience and doesn't understand why, and then you're suffering pain, so anyway, those are the difference. But the time for this unfolding is occurring. Hopefully this reaches those who are interested. If we don't get back to you right away with the Harmony Project, it's just because we're busy. Keep knocking on the door. You can uh, write in the comments, and we'll do our very best. But also read the Harmony Projects. Look at the list of books on there. Educate yourself. This isn't about being led; it's about leading yourself. Okay, so this is antithetical in the sense that it's a group of free-willed individuals. That's why there's no organization called the Harmony Project. There never will be any official anything. Nobody will make you do anything. Nobody's going to tell you to do anything. Look, there's two forces.
Right.
One believes in free will and free expression, the good guys. The other believes in top-down hierarchical control, a
Right.
hive mind type concept, the bad guys. Okay, now, it's not about really the perfection of things or the um, everybody would like things to be neat or tidier. But if you really study the Tao, you understand, like nature, the Tao is divine order, which looks like chaos. And it's like I was telling you the other day, Kat, there's no such thing as chaos. Chaos is simply divine order that's not understood by the mind that perceives it.
Yeah.
Okay. So like a cloud, like, it looks chaotic, but is it really chaotic? If you possess the mind of the creator, it would not be chaotic at all. If you look in traditional hell has a hierarchy, right?
Right.
And it's a top down sort of thing. Also, ET contacts have said that, Mantoids, for example, have shown us a possible future of humanity where we're all in a sort of hive mind. And yes, oh, that love flows, But what is love? Love is a frequency. So imagine having a technology we can just bombard people with that frequency. They would feel like they're in the most loving environment when they're, totally abandon any and all kinds of free will. So, imagine having a classroom of free willed children. It's going to seem pretty, any kindergarten teacher will tell you it's pretty chaotic. Okay.
Right.
So, but that's the way where you allow most people the most freedom. So the path of the most freedom is going to seem the most chaotic. Um, the path that seems the tightest and most efficient, you know, and this is why, by the way, here's a little translation of occult philosophy. Nature moves in spirals, which is represented by the circle. That's a flat spiral. Okay. The occult Luciferian satanic mindset is a square. Okay. This is why the occultists are always trying to square the circle. But if you've ever explored that, you can never square a circle. There's always going to be spots that are left out, right? And this is the difference between digital versus analog. Analog has a nice arcing curve. Digital approximates this curve, but isn't it exactly? So this is why the Luciferian slash right angle type minds, this top down hierarchical belief that that is more efficient, is in fact less efficient. And in fact, in the end, always loses out to natural designs.
Yeah. And why our housing is all right angled, right? It's
Right. Well, a lot of Western stuff that's been really brainwashed. There's a lot of houses in other places that aren't so affected, that aren't square,
right.
that are domed. The Kogi in the Colombian Sierra Nevada mountains have a place where their mamas meditate that looks very much like a conical house, called the Your Way. Um, and that's representative of the womb. I mean, look at all the natural things. And amphora, they've studied amphoras, the way that amphoras hold liquids, move them around like that, the way that an egg does. These shapes are not because the creator's mind was idiotic. Um, it's sort of humorous, right? I mean, and this is why there's the science now of biological design, where the awareness is starting to be, look at nature and then copy it. Um, nature is a reflection of that divine creative mind, and it's obviously figured out things in a far superior way than the left brain, top down hierarchical uh, brainwashing that we've been infected with would indicate, is the best way. So, hopefully that gives people a conclusion. I mean, we'll probably be a little bit more periodic now because there's a lot of work going on. But if you're called to this, if you're meant to do this, all of these things should be enough. Um, and they're just meant to be breadcrumbs to lead you and to help support you in what you already have always known.
right. It's a remembering, it truly is. And I feel like it's part of my purpose to assist in that. And hence why we met.
Right?
There is a divine design. And no matter what the other side tries to do, it cannot fuck with. Hey everyone. So our conversation got cut off there a little bit, but I just wanted to wrap this up for us. So I encourage you to go back and listen and watch our previous conversations specifically to do with the harmony projects. It's actually going to be the path forward. And I feel like a lot of people who are waking up right now from this brainwashing and this current state of existence that we are all in right now, I feel that the path forward is about reconnecting, not only with who we truly are, but also who we are together as one. And so we just wanted to remind people it's a lot about that. It's a lot about remembering and waking up to that truth. And we're definitely stronger together. So if this calls to you, if you want to know more, please check out our website, theharmonyproject.tv. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. And I encourage that this message goes far and wide and reaches the hearts of all that listen. Until next time.